Hi, everyone. Welcome, welcome. If you can hear me, just raise your hand. If you're on Zoom, you can raise your hand using the button. I just want to make sure that you guys can all hear me. Or if you could say yes in the chat too, that would work. Okay, perfect. So I'm Miss Jackie. I am one of the Youth Services librarians here at the Central Park Library. Welcome to our STEAM lab for the month. This one is food science. I saw somebody said that they're hungry. We're actually not going to be eating anything or making anything to eat. You will be making something to drink though. And possibly if our first experiment works, you could use it for food related items. So we're gonna see how that works out. I'm just gonna give it another minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. I will be switching over to my science cam so that you can see. I'm going to be demonstrating all the experiments on the science cam. So I'm going to switch over to that one shortly. All right. Let's see. And does everybody have their ingredients for the experiments we're doing today? If you don't have, so we're doing 3 experiments total. If you don't have the items for the third one, that's totally okay. You can actually just watch me perform the experiment, because I know that was, not everybody has like a large bin or they can't all get all those soda cans and drinks together. So that's totally okay. All right, I'm going to give it another 30 seconds and then we'll get started. Okay. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So again, welcome to STEAM Lab, Food Science. I'm Miss Jackie with the Santa Clara City Library. Today we're going to be doing 3 experiments that are going to be dealing with chemical reactions and weight and mass and density. So that's going to be fun. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go over what the scientific method is. You guys have heard of the scientific method, right? Probably in school. So it consists of 6 different parts. The first thing is question. So you're going to pick something that you're curious about. Number 2 is the hypothesis, making an educated guess at for your question's answer. So what you think is going to be the outcome. Number 3 is actually performing the experiment. So you're going to make a plan and test your hypothesis. Number 4 is data. You're going to record your experiment's results and your observations. And number 5 is analyze. You're going to review and draw your conclusions. And number 6 is report. You're going to explain your results and whether or not your hypothesis was correct. Okay, so that is the scientific method. Just keep that in mind as we go through the experiments. So for experiment number 1, let me just move this out of the way. For experiment number 1, we need an airtight jar. It can be a small mason jar or a plastic jar, just as long as you can tighten it nice and tight so that nothing will come out. And you're going to need heavy cream that's at room temperature. So hopefully you guys were able to get your heavy cream and sit it out at room temperature. You could just pour like maybe like 6 to 8 ounces. And that's what we're going to start with right now. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the other camera. Okay, Can everybody see the science cam? Okay, great. Okay, so I went ahead and poured the heavy whipping cream inside of the jar. So as you can see, it's just a mason jar here. So go ahead and take your heavy cream. You want to pour it, you can pour it like halfway if you want to. I just poured a little bit into it. So go ahead and do that and make sure it's room temperature, because if it's not room temperature, this isn't going to work out quite like we wanted. Okay, so go ahead and do that. I'm going to make sure this camera's good. Oops. Okay. So once you guys have your heavy cream in your jar, let me know. So this one might take like over 10 minutes, maybe like 10 to 15 minutes to do. Are you guys ready to do the next step? Let me know. Oops. Okay. Okay, are we ready? So go ahead, you're gonna take your jar, make sure the lid's on nice and tight. And basically what we're gonna start doing is we are going to shake this jar. Whoops, okay, some of my liquid came out. So make sure it's super duper duper tight. Okay, and shake it as hard as you can. You want to do this probably for the next 5 to 10 minutes, but shake as hard as you can. If you get tired, maybe if you have a friend or sibling or parent or any kind of caretaker with you, they can probably take turns shaking the bottle. Okay, so while we are shaking this bottle, does anybody have any guesses or a hypothesis of what's going to happen as we're shaking this jar? If you want to take a break from shaking, you can just take a second and type it in the chat. So keep shaking. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Caleb says it's going to become whipped cream, then butter. That is a very good guess. So I don't know if you have noticed, but I've noticed as I'm shaking this, the sound of the liquid, the heavy cream that was inside of it, the sound's changing. So before it was making a lot of sound, and now it's making less sound. So keep shaking. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera now. Okay, this is quite the workout. Okay, keep shaking, keep shaking. I'm gonna have to hold this a little closer. Okay, what else? You guys are saying, okay, Meta also says becoming whipped cream, then it's going to be like butter. Khadijah says it will become thick and creamy. Those are all excellent hypotheses. Okay. So keep shaking. Who else is getting a workout out of this? I know I am. Did you guys know that you were going to be doing some physical exercise for this STEAM lab? Whew. Okay, so I don't know if you can hear that, but there's actually no sound now coming from mine. Before was making some jiggly sounds, and now I don't really hear much. We're gonna shake it for a couple more minutes, and then we're gonna open it up and see what's happening inside. Whew, this is a workout. Okay. Okay, Wendy says becomes like a whipped cream and then into a smooth butter texture. So you guys are all on kind of the same track as to what you think is going to happen. That's good. Okay. So is everybody noticing a change in what their heavy cream sounds like in their can? If you notice a difference, you are on the right track. Okay. I think I'm going to stop because I am starting to get tired. And I'm going to go ahead and open up my jar and see what happens inside. So make sure, oh, let me grab some paper towels because it might get messy. Okay, so I have some paper towels here. I'm going to pry this open. Okay, very cool. So let me see. Can you guys see that? The lighting is a little not the greatest, but okay. So if you guys said whipped cream, you are correct. So it's whipped cream now. And if we keep shaking, it's going to change again. So is everybody thick like this? And I'll show you the lid too, so you can see what it's become. Oops. Can you see that? So it's no longer just super liquidy. It has started to solidify. Okay. Now, this is probably not tasty whipped cream because there's no sugar in it, but we're going to keep shaking again. Another 5 minutes and see what happens. Okay, shake really hard. Woo. Here's this thing. Awesome. Okay. I swear I'm still shaking. Okay. I'm not gonna lie, I'm getting a little tired from shaking this. Like my arms feel like jello. So I may not make it to the last part of what's supposed to happen, but hopefully you guys can. So just in general, let's see. Oh, okay. I see more changes happening. I don't know if you guys notice. I think I'm almost at that point. So something's happening. It looks totally different now. Okay, I think we're almost there. I see the light at the end of the tunnel. We are almost there. Okay. Okay, and do you hear that? So there's liquid present again. So we literally just took this heavy cream and we shook it so much that it's gone through a few different changes. Okay. I'm going to open it up and let's see what happened now. Oh my gosh. Do you guys see this? Is yours like this now? So we have some solid stuff in the back and we have this liquid that's now here. Does everybody's look like that? If not, just keep shaking. You will get there, I promise. Okay. So what we basically just did is we made homemade butter. That's crazy, right? Okay. So the reason why, or I mean, traditionally, when you made butter back in the day, you would use a butter churn. So you'd basically just turn it really, really fast, and it would make the heavy cream turn into butter at the end after you turned it a lot. So what's happening is that cream is made up of water and globules of fat. So when you shake the cream, the fat globules clump together and they actually separate from the water. So we shook it so much that we were able to create butter. And then do you know what this liquid is that's left over? Take a guess. Tell me in the chat what you think this liquid is. Any guesses? Anyone? Milk, that's a good guess. Anybody else? Okay, so I see Amanda says milk, Caleb says buttermilk, Rupp says buttermilk. Okay, the answer is yes, it is buttermilk. Good job. So you have just made butter and buttermilk, which if your jars, if you had a clean jar, you can actually go ahead and use that for any kind of cooking or baking or dressing needs. I'm going to shake it a little bit more. I want to see if that butter will solidify even more than it is. Let's see. It's about the same. Okay, very cool. So I've never done that before. That was really exciting. And I think it took less time than the instructions I found said. So congratulations, everyone. You have made butter and buttermilk. Yay! Okay, awesome. So you can choose to keep that if you want. If not, you can dispose of it. Okay, so that was our first experiment. Good job, guys. All right, let me share my screen again and I will move on to the second one. Here we go. Oops. It's not the right screen. Okay, here we go. Okay, so as you can see in my picture, I had a picture of butter and buttermilk. So if you made it to that point, you guys did the experiment correctly. Number 2, this one we're gonna need a few ingredients, a few items. Make sure you have them ready. We need measuring spoons. So let me get those. Okay, so measuring spoons. We need citric acid. I don't know if you guys are able to find it, but this is what the citric acid looks like. I got mine at Target. It was only, I think, about $3.50. You can find it in the canning section over at Target. So we need that. We're gonna need 5 clear plastic drinking cups right there. We need baking soda. Lovely baking soda. We need measuring cups. So I have this nice Pyrex measuring glass here. Drinking water. Here we go. Here's some drinking water. And a spoon. Trusty little spoon here. Granulated sugar. And food coloring is optional. So here's my sugar. And food coloring if you have it. If not, that's okay. I'm going to pick, let's see, a purple. I'm going to use a purple color and maybe a red and an orange and green and black. Okay. Okay, so when you guys have your ingredients, just let me know in the chat or by raising your hand and then we can move on. Oh, question, can you put this butter on a piece of bread? Yeah, it should actually be fine. Oh, thank you, Miss Lorena, for answering that. Yeah, so what you technically made was unsalted butter. So if you want a little taste of it, you're probably gonna want to add a little bit of salt and mix it up before you use it. You can also put different types of herb to make herb butter, very delicious, on bread, on meats. Oh, great, yay, you can eat it within a few days. Well, I hope you guys enjoy your butter. Okay. So is everybody ready to move on to the next experiment? Yes, okay. And I'm sorry, I'm not watching my YouTube channel. If Miss Lorena, you can just double check and make sure everyone's good on that side too. Okay, perfect. So we are going to start the next portion. Now, what do you guys think we are going to make with all of these different ingredients that we have here? Any guesses? Any guesses at all? Do you think it's something? Oh yeah, I did kind of preface this by saying that we were going to make something to drink. So yes, it is a drink. Lemonade, possibly, but I don't have any lemons here. It's not food. Okay, so we are going to make our very own soda. All right, so did you know that soda is full of carbon dioxide? But how does the carbon dioxide get into the soda? So we're going to do this experiment to see how that actually happens. So we are going to be the ones to produce or help create the carbon dioxide. Okay, here we go. So what we need to do first is we need to add 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid to 3 of the cups. All right, so let me move these out of the way. There we go. Okay, so let me get out the 3 cups. Oops. Okay, oops. There's our 3 cups. So we're gonna start off by, let me stop sharing. Okay, there's our 3 cups. So first thing we need to do is add 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid to 3 of the cups. And we're gonna leave the other 2 cups empty. So they're just gonna be right here on standby. Okay, let me open up my citric acid. Oh, this one is a tough one to open. I'm almost there, I promise. Okay. Okay. Woo, that is very strong. Be careful not to get too close to it. Bria, you're not, that's okay. If you're not allowed to drink soda, that's all right. This is more just focusing on what reaction we're gonna have. So I kind of gave away, like I didn't give you guys a chance to do the hypothesis, but we are going to be making the soda and you're going to see a chemical reaction. Okay, so 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid into 3 of the cups. So I'm gonna go ahead and measure it out. And be careful not to bring the citric acid too close to your nose because it is quite strong. Okay, 1. There's the second one. And the third one. And remember, it's 1/4 teaspoon. Okay. Then we're going to add 1/16 of a teaspoon of baking soda to 1 of the cups. Okay. So 1/16. There you go. So here's the baking soda. I think I might just have to dip this in because if I pour it out, it's going to make a huge mess. If you want, you can pour the baking soda into a smaller dish, and that way you can scoop it out nice and easy. Okay, so 1/16. I'm going to use the 1/4 teaspoon again, but you're basically just going to put a very, very, very small amount. I don't know exactly the measurement for 1/16. Let's see. Shouldn't be too much. I would say let's eyeball it. Let's say like this much. Can you guys see that? It's very, maybe like 1/4 of the way full of this measuring thing. Okay. So I'm going to add this to one of the soda cups. So the first one, go ahead and add that. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup of water with the mixture of the baking soda and the citric acid. Okay. So here I have my measuring cup. Oops. And do 1/4 cup of water. Okay, so 1/4 cup of water. Add it to this one. And we're going to mix the solution. I'm not sure if anything's happening yet. Okay. Next, we're going to do 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda in the next one, and also 1/4 cup of water. So this time we're going to do the full 1/4 cup. Oops. That's 1/4 of a teaspoon. I'm sorry, 1/4 of a teaspoon. And then another 1/4 cup. Oops. Okay. 1/4 cup of water. Oh, do you hear that? At that time, there was definitely some fizzle. It's like seltzer water. I mean, it basically is. Okay. Next, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of baking soda to the 3rd cup with 1/4 cup of water. So 1 teaspoon. So here's the 1 teaspoon. Okay, this is going to be a lot more baking soda. Here we go. We're going to add that. And then another 1/4 cup of water. And that one's pretty extra fizzy as well. Give it a good mix. This one's much fizzier. You can hear it bubbling. Okay, so now we're going to taste the 3 different solutions. So if you don't want to, you don't have to try these. This doesn't have sugar at this point, so it's kind of safe because it's basically just like sparkling water. So if you do not drink soda, again, this is up to you whether or not you want to drink it. Okay, so I'm going to taste this first one. Let's taste it together and see. Okay, wow. Woo! That was extremely sour. If you guys have some extra water or something else to drink, you might want to have that handy because that is very sour. But it's also not very fizzly. Let's try the second one now. Okay, here we go. So this one still has some bubbles going on. Okay, so if you notice the difference, did you guys try number 2? How did your number 2 one taste compared to the first one? Tell me in the chat, how does number 2 compare to number 1 in taste? Oh, did you try all 3 already? So number 2, let me try it again. Number 2 is definitely not as sour as number 1, and it still has some bubbles. So now we're going to taste number 3. I think I need to mix number 3 again because there's still some powder at the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to taste number 3 now. Okay. Wow. That one was extremely salty. Yes. Who says number 3 is the saltiest? It is definitely salty. So the mixture, which mixture do you guys like the most out of 1, 2, and 3? Somebody already said, or Elijah and Riley already said number 2. Does everybody agree that number 2 is the best recipe or the best mixture? Okay. Yes, I agree. Number 1 is too sour and number 3 is too salty. Okay, so this time we are going to add 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. So here's where the sugar comes in. Grab your sugar. Now, if you don't drink soda, this is probably the time when you don't want to taste your mixtures because we're now adding sugar to it. Okay, so grab your 1/4 teaspoon. Here is the first one, sugar. Add that to that one. Let's see, we are going to for sugar. Okay, so we're actually going to do it in increments. We'll add it to this one. We're going to add 1/4 teaspoon of sugar to the next one and also the third one. Sugar there. And sugar here. Okay, let's go ahead and mix it on up. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and do another taste test again. You guys can go ahead and do it at home. Let's see. Okay. Eek. Wow. Okay, what do you guys think? After we added the sugar, did it help? Do you still like number 2 the best? I think right now for me, yes, number 2 is still good. So I'm going to do another round of sugar for each each cup to see if that's going to help even more. So another 1/4 teaspoon. Another 1/4 teaspoon to number 2. And another 1/4 teaspoon to number 3. And I'm going to mix that up again. Oops, a little mess. Okay, so taste test number 3. Let's see. Okay, number 1 is still really sour for me. Number 2, taste okay. Number 3. I don't know about you guys, but number 3 for some reason tastes even more salty than before. Let me know if you have the same feelings. So I still say number 2 is tasting the best. Let's see. I'm gonna do one more round of sugar. So right now we are up to, how many times have we put sugar now? I totally lost count. We've done 2 rounds of sugar. Okay, we are going to do round number 3 of 1/4 teaspoon, again, 1/4 teaspoon of sugar. Let's see if that changes anything for us. So 1, number 2, and number 3. Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know why I told you guys to do 5 cups. Because we're only using 3, but that's okay. If you want to experiment after we found the perfect soda recipe, then you guys can use those cups to make your own perfect cup of soda. As long as it's okay with your parents, because we don't want to get you too sugared up. Sugar in moderation is better. This one. Oh boy, I'm making a mess. Okay, let's do a taste test again. Number 1 is definitely more tolerable now. It's not so in your face sour. I think I don't know if I messed up the measurement for the 1/16, but it's still pretty sour. Number 2 is actually too sweet for me now. Okay, let's hope number 3 is not so salty this time. Oh my God. Okay. Your mom says it'll make you crazy. Possibly. Okay, for this round, I kind of liked number 1 the best. Number 1 tasted the best to me. Number 2 became too sweet. And number 3 was off the charts salty for me. I had to kind of wipe my tongue. How did you guys feel about those? Oh, you liked number 2? What does the second one have? The recipe for the second one, let's see. Oops. The recipe for the second one was 1/4 teaspoon. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. Oh, so the second one was the 1 1 1/4 teaspoon of the citric acid, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda with the 1/4 cup of water. That was the recipe for that one. Do you want me to type it in the chat in case you want to keep this recipe? Let's see. 1/4 teaspoon citric acid, 1/4. 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, 1/4 cup of water. Okay, so for number 2, that is what I just typed in the chat. That is the basic recipe. So that's before the sugar. And if you want to recreate number 1, the only difference was that it was 1/16 teaspoon of the citric acid. So that's number 1. I don't think you guys want to make number 3 at all because that did not taste good whatsoever. That tasted awful. Okay, so just the little fun part, if you wanted to continue with your soda experiments, you can always just add a little bit of food coloring. It will drop. So just adding some red, a little bit of orange. Okay. And this is the basic recipe of what you buy at the store. So if you look at the label, you'll see it has water and it definitely has the citric acid. And of course, food coloring. So now we have some beautiful pink soda and beautiful yellow soda. All right. I hope you guys had fun with that. And that you're not too sugared up. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and just clean that up, and I'm gonna get the next experiment ready. So I will go ahead and share my screen again. Let's see. Oops. Okay, share screen. Okay. So the last one is we need a large bucket or a plastic container. Oh, I forgot to say, and you want to fill this with water. So if you don't have the container, that's totally fine. You can just watch me do it. And we're also going to need various cans of drinks. So if you have sparkling water, soda, juice, regular soda, diet soda, grab anything that you can. And that's going to be part of our next experiment. So I'm just going to move these to the side and grab my bin of water. Oh, this bin is a bit heavy. So I realize that we are in a drought. So if you don't want to do this, you do not need to, because it is a lot of water to be able to demonstrate what we're going to do. And I fully plan on using this bin of water to go water the plants outside the library afterwards. So this water will not be wasted. The fruits of its labor will not go in vain. Okay. So you did not enjoy the soda. That's okay. I didn't either. I'm going to leave soda making up to the professionals because I don't know about this homemade soda. You might have to tinker with all the ingredients a bit more and maybe even get a little more creative. You could add like actual fruit juice or something that's sweet, like some guava nectar or mango nectar. That might make it taste a lot better. Okay, so when you guys are ready for me to move on, just let me know in the chat or raise your hand. I'm gonna angle this a little bit more. Yeah, juice is a good alternative since, I mean, lemon juice, orange juice, lime juice, those are acidic. So you're going to have pretty much the same result. And it even tastes better because it's coming from a fruit. Okay. So if you're ready, just let me know. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing my screen so you can see the bin of water. So as you can tell, I filled it up quite a bit. So, comparison to my hand, there's quite a bit of water in there. All right, so as for my drinks, I have a variety of stuff that I brought. So I brought some bottled water. I brought another, this one is sparkling water. I also have this milk tea drink. Let me light it up over here, actually. I have a can of zero sugar Zivia. I also have some Kern's Nectar. I have a can of Coke Zero. A can of regular Coke. And I have a Capri Sun in strawberry flavor. And a Capri Sun in lemonade flavor. Okay, so let's take a guess. What do you guys think is going to happen? Like, what are we doing with this experiment? I think I'm going to try to put these in this bin, right? So do you think things are going to be floating or sinking? So let me see. Sinking? Yes. So this experiment is actually going to be exploring density and mass. Okay, so we have different liquids here. We have different, these ones are all 12 ounces. So these are 12 ounces. This one's 11 ounces. This one is about 18 ounces. So we're going to see, does the size of the can matter? Does the material of what it's packaged in matter? Does it matter if it's more narrow or fat? Does it matter what type of soda it is? So we're going to find out. Okay, which one should we try first? Let's try this Zivia and see what happens. Do you guys think this is going to sink or float? What's it going to do? I'm going to drop it. So if you're doing it at home, just make sure that you kind of make sure it submerges and that there's no air bubbles at the bottom, because this part, there could be air bubbles trapped. So you don't want any air bubbles. So put it in. Okay, what do we see it doing? This one is floating. How interesting. Okay, so that one floats. Let's try this crystal geyser. Now this one's pretty heavy compared to that can because there's a lot more liquid in this one. So do you think it's going to sink or is it going to float? Sink or float? Sink? People are saying sink. Okay, let's find out. Here we go. This one is actually, it's technically floating. It might be hitting the ground a little bit because it's long. I don't have enough water in it, but if you see, it's actually floating above. So that one's floating. I would not have guessed that. Let's try, how about we try this one? The matcha green tea and milk. So the milk tea. Okay, sink or float? I see sink, I see sink. Okay, here we go. Okay. This one did sink. So do you guys think it's sinking because of the shape, or is it because of the amount of liquid inside? What's making it want to sink? The shape? Okay. I'm going to take a couple of these out so we can put others in. Let's see. So we know this one's floating. Let's try this bottle of water. So this one's kind of similar to that one. And this one is 16.9 ounces. There we go. Is it going to sink or float? This one, I see votes for both. Okay, here we go. Let's move this out of the way. This one is floating. I don't know if you can see it. Let me move it over here. So this one's floating in the air, or not floating in there, floating in the water. Okay, let's try. I'm going to move on to the cans now and see what happens. Okay, here we have Coke, we have regular Coke, and we have Coke Zero. Are you ready? So which one's going to sink and which one's going to float? Or are they both going to float? Or are they both going to sink? I'm going to do it at the same time and we're going to find out. Ready? 1, make sure there's no air bubbles. 2, 3. Oh, look. Let me move this one to the side. Can you guys see? The regular Coke went all the way to the bottom. So it totally sank. Even if we move it around, it still settles on the bottom. That's interesting. So there's got to be something different between these two, right? Even though they're both Coke, there's something different here that's making the other one want to sink. Okay, let's take this one out. Let's try this Kern's guava nectar. Is it going to sink or float? Sink. This one's pretty heavy too. It feels very heavy because it's totally full of 100% juice. Okay, so you think it's going to sink? Here we go. Oh, let me get up. Where did the water bubble? Uh-oh. This one is floating. Okay, that's interesting. So that one's floating. All right, how about, so my last two are Capri Suns. So I have a strawberry and I have a lemonade. Okay, so I mean, these are pretty much the same thing, right? Do they look similar? Then the same packaging. They're just different flavors. So let's see what's going to happen. And make sure there's no air bubbles so that you're getting the proper test results. Okay, so that's interesting. The strawberry one is sinking, but the lemonade one is kind of floating. This one's still not touching the bottom, whereas this one wants to go straight to the bottom. Okay, so I am going to explain what's happening. Let me put my floater and sinker back in here. So why do some cans of soda or fruit drinks float while some others sink? Well, they may have the same shape and the volume and size, but density is what plays a factor in this. So density is the measure of mass per unit volume of a substance. So water has the density of 1 gram per milliliter. And objects will float in the water if their density is less than the 1 gram per milliliter. Objects will sink in the water if their density is greater than 1 gram per milliliter. So the reason why this can of Coke is so quick to sink is because, let's see. I don't know if you can read the ingredients on the back. Can you see it? It might be kind of shiny. Anyway, so this one says the total sugars in here is actually 39 grams. So that's actually a lot of sugar that's been added to this little can of Coke. And if you were, I don't have it, I'm not going to measure it out, but if you were to measure out the amount of sugar, it's a lot. So that's why it's so quick to sink down. Now, when you take a look at this Coke, which is 0 sugar, if you look at the back, it says 0 sugar. So what it uses is artificial sweeteners, and artificial sweeteners do not have the same weight as regular sugar. So that's why this one is always going to sink and this one's going to float. So sugar is what makes the difference in all these items. So obviously, if you're looking over here, this is kind of an indicator. There is actually more added sugar in the strawberry flavor than the lemonade. And then if you look at this one, so this is Kern's Nectar, and juice is naturally has sugar, right? So this one actually says that there's 39 grams of sugar in this can, but it's not the same kind of sugar that's in this one. So that's why when you compare these two, this one is still going to be sinking. Okay, so that is the end of today's STEAM Lab. I hope you guys had fun. We are going to have another one next month, same time. It is going to be a Pride themed one since next month is June, which is Pride Month. Okay, let me just stop this video. All right, so thank you everyone for coming. If you want to rewatch the video, you can on, oh, thank you, Miss Lauren. You can on YouTube. It'll be recorded there, so you have you're able to access it, and you're also able to access any of our previous STEAM Labs. All right, so thank you all for joining me. I'm glad you had fun. Enjoy your butter. Try not to drink too much soda.